Tim Lawton.
Mr. Speaker, I approach this debate out of a sense more of disappointment, in the same way as I did when I decided to campaign for and vote for Brexit, not out of some ideological phobia of the EU, but because of a belief that the EU was going backwards, that the UK's interests were diverging from it, and without reform it was doomed to steady but terminal decline. That reform was not forthcoming. But I don't want to repeat here the debates we had in the run-up to the referendum, as I fear many honourable members have in recent weeks, and indeed in this debate. This is about the deal now before us. We voted to leave on June the 23rd, 2016, as did my constituency. The government pledged to implement what you decide in their little booklet costing £9.3 million. And in the 2017 election, the two main parties secured 82% of the vote, both pledged to implement the referendum result. The people have not given us any alternative instruction since. Our manifestos have not been rewritten since. Indeed, the campaign to sideline the referendum result has been marked by two, I think, disingenuous approaches. Firstly, that it's just all become a bit too complicated, so shouldn't we just call the whole thing off? And secondly, a constant embellishment of the horrors of post-Brexit economic forecasts, which have duly encouraged Remain voters to believe that the result could be reversed, and encouraged EU negotiators to believe that as well, and therefore it makes any terms for our departure doubly unpalatable. Now, Mr. Speaker, I've discussed with my constituents my view on this. Now, over 1,000 of them have written to me, urging me to vote against this deal. In contrast, only a few dozen have urged me to support it. So today I should be welcoming a meaningful vote for a proposal that delivers the Brexit that I campaigned for and my constituents in the country voted for. But alas, I cannot do that, because this proposal does not deliver Brexit. Its unprecedented terms, I will in just a minute, its unprecedented terms have the potential to undermine our sovereignty and the union of the United Kingdom like nothing before, and I'm deeply worried for the future of Brexit after the absolutely shambolic way the whole issue has been handled by the government in recent days. I'll give way.
Thanks, my honourable friend, for giving way. I have just a simple question for him and others who face difficulty in voting for this deal, and it's this. If we don't vote for the deal, what will happen to the rights of United Kingdom nationals living in the EU 27 from the 29th of March?
Well, that is up to the government to negotiate. And given the government has failed to produce an immigration white paper that we've been waiting for some time, then it really does need to get on with answering questions like that and give some uncertainty. Many honourable members have quoted metaphors for our present predicament. Well, let me add another one to the mix. It's like buying a house, but you've only seen it from the outside. You're handing over the full asking price at the outset up front. You sign all the legal transaction documents without even agreeing on the fixtures, fittings and completion date, or indeed knowing whether immigration status of your family allows you actually to live there. And only then after that, commissioning a survey, the results of which you do not share with your family, despite eventually finding out that the neighbours have an unlimited right-of-way access across your garden and unfettered access to your garden pond, and no indication of when you're actually going to be able to move in. Who in their right mind, Mr. Speaker, would agree a deal on buying a house, let alone on such an important issue as the future constitutional basis of our whole country? Now, I thought the member for East Surrey, in an excellent speech, and he's welcome back to the backbenches if he's going to make speeches like that, described this as a deal in name only, and it's another case of difficult decisions being kicked into the long grass. Because above all, Mr. Speaker, what we need now, and frankly have needed for some time, is certainty. Certainty for our citizens, certainty for our businesses and our investors, certainty for our fishermen, our farmers, and many more. And yet the political agreement that accompanies this document sounds good, but is littered with conditional phrases like agree to develop, intend to consider, will explore the possibility, and use their best endeavours. That is not something concrete enough that I feel I can sign up to. And my biggest fear is that this deal only extends that uncertainty. Uncertainty over, as now confirmed by the Attorney General's advice, as to how long we will continue to be rule takers for our tariffs, for our regulations, for our alignment requirements, for our competition laws, our trade deals, and uncertainty over the integrity of our whole United Kingdom and our sovereignty. And on the subject of Northern Ireland, the EU has spent the last 2 years declining to agree a practical arrangement for the border, despite facing the real and present danger of it ending in a no-deal Brexit, which would see no handover of £39 million and serious disorder that a no-deal could bring in the short term at least. So what I don't understand, Mr. Speaker, is why on earth does the Prime Minister think that the EU will agree to a solution to this, I think, much overhyped and largely fabricated problem of Northern Ireland in the next 2 years, when the cheque will have been signed and a legally binding framework deal agreed? What leverage will we have left to secure mutually beneficial terms of all the outstanding issues to be resolved to avoid an interminable backstop? And there are many issues still to be resolved. It is unthinkable that we should sign a deal which compromises our sovereignty and the ability of this House and this government, answerable to our peoples, indefinitely to set our own laws.
Will he give way?
I will indeed.
I think he's making a very powerful case. And does he agree with me that the perverseness of this is that this is putting us in a worse position than the existing status quo?
Well, I'm afraid my right honourable friend is right. There are some advantages to the position we're in now, which we sign away in this never-ending backstop transition waiting room phase that we are going to be stuck in. So for all those reasons, Mr. Speaker, that is why I cannot support a deal that has an open-ended backstop at its heart. We need a clean, global Brexit on terms that both partners can confidently plot our future beyond 2020 to our mutual benefit. No more kicking into the long grass, no more avoiding taking difficult decisions. It doesn't make that decision any easier by having endless transitions and further discussions and negotiations lasting years and years and years. We have got to grasp the reality. But where is the crack team of the best brains across the United Kingdom and the EU working on credible, practical, technological-based solutions for the Northern Ireland-Irish border, for example? Surely that should have been our biggest priority for some time if the backstop hinged on it. Yet I don't think I'm alone in looking in vain for any sense of urgency here. To those who have come up with no practical solutions for a workable Brexit deal, despite having stood on a Conservative or Labour manifesto at the last election that pledged to deliver Brexit, those people should stop kidding themselves and stop conning the British public that everything will be magically resolved by a second referendum. If it were to come up with a different result to the first referendum, why should 17.4 million people who voted in good faith, many for the first time ever, accept the results? If it were to come up with the same result, how much more time will be wasted? How many more resources will be wasted and further damaging delays caused? And given the huge divisions resulting from the first referendum, how does repeating that bruising experience do anything to help bringing the country back together again? Surely our current travails would be exacerbated even further if that were possible. So, Mr. Speaker, for me, there's only one alternative: resoundingly rejecting this framework deal in front of this House we vote in next Tuesday. It will send out a strong message to the European Union that whilst there's much in the agreement that we can sign up to and much that can be negotiated in the actual subsequent negotiations, an unbridled, non-time limited backstop makes it completely unworkable. And if the EU are serious about achieving a mutually beneficial relationship, they must acknowledge that, re-engage accordingly, and come up with more realistic terms that this House then can show a lead in agreeing to and determining our future and bringing back some degree of certainty that everyone is screaming out for.